This might be the most hilarious oopsie a games journalist has been involved in 2019. And we just had the Overwatch Ellis story. That's right. The dying, I didn't even know this was still a thing, but PC Gamer, which I actually used to get. I remember fondly, if you're an old bone like me, an old lump of coal, I remember getting PC Gamer magazine just for the demo discs that you would get inside, because I didn't have a lot of money when I was young, and getting a 1 or 2 level demo of a game was great. And in fact, it was really the only way that you would be able to get more information on a game other than buying the magazine, because back then the internet was in its infancy. AOL, things like that, Net Zero. You couldn't watch 1080p or 4K video game reviews. You had to rely on magazines. Imagine that. Well, those days are long gone, and PC Gamer is basically just a hate-click manufacturing outlet. But yesterday, an article dropped about Rimworld, which looks to be an amazing game. Let me give you a 30,000-foot view, and then we're going to jump into it. So essentially, PC Gamer lowers the review of Rimworld's overall score because of, quote, distasteful backstories of some transgender characters. Turns out those backstories were written by transgender fans who based the characters on themselves. Let's get into it. So, PC Gamer gave the game a 74, which is pretty strong overall review, but it gave it a demerit, basically, an imaginative management game, but a weak story generator. And overall, we'll go into, it's a long review, make some decently good points, but of course, game journalists cannot write a game review without dedicating a certain amount of time to wokeness. There are some particular aspects. Let's get, so you can see, there are some particular aspects to this approach of character generation. Though each character gets 3 traits, like obsessive, lazy, or misogynist, one of the modifiers is gay, but straight isn't. That's just default, which is painfully heteronormative. Well, yeah, I would say the vast majority of people, the way you choose a default setting is what is the most common, and being straight is. Sorry, not sorry, that's just a fact. And outdated for a game about far-flung future. So are you saying that the default should be gay? I'm not exactly sure what your critique is there. Other aspects of queerness are included, but in equally reductive ways, like character backstories discussing that they're transgender, proof of which being that they're dressing up in their mother's clothes as a child, all of which leaves a bit of a bad taste in the mouth. It feels so odd to have some traits set along others, like misogyny next to ugly, hardworking next to psychopath. Well, the game developer spoke out. Tynan Sylvester comments, I wouldn't usually comment on reviews, but this part of PC Gamer's review needs addressing. All trans character descriptions were written by players through our backstory in-game program. I don't think it's my place to censor how people describe their own experiences. He's going back to this paragraph I just wrote. The part of the review implies that I, as a developer, was supposed to be writing trans backstories in a more correct way. But what words can possibly be more correct than the actual words of a trans person? We were so inclusive to the varied self-perspectives of our diverse players, and it's used as a point against the game. The review gives no indication of where the quoted words come from, misleading readers into thinking that it was all written by some misguided game writer. I'm asking PC Gamer to issue a correction to clarify that these words they are calling reductive and in bad taste were written by players describing their own trans self-perspectives, not a game writer. PC Gamer has added a clarifying note. Considering how personally damaging false implications like this are, I wish they were never published. But I'm appreciative they've addressed it, and relatively quickly. By the way, There is also a very, very popular mod that allows players to change whatever it is that they want to do when in terms of whatever their character's into. Let's go back and let's see. Editor's note. Some of Rimworld's backstories were created by Kickstarter backers. That's it. That's it. That's not even addressing your mistake. The truth is that they were trans people who wrote about their own trans story. And you can even read some of the responses of fans of this game. I'm a trans woman. The first time I played Rimworld, I didn't know people had written their own stories into the game, but I stumbled into one of the trans characters, and it became immediately obvious that it was written by a trans person of their own experience. While the article implicates you, a cis person, this section is part of a larger pattern of not accepting the messy realities and stories written and expressed by trans people. Our lives get weird and messy, and our narratives often don't fit that into what reductive wants of others. This all sucks because it discourages you and others from including trans narratives written by trans people in your art. A very fair point. And of course, it draws in the anti-SJW crowd. Hello! Who are no more supportive of trans people in our stories than they serve a political goal. Well, I 100% disagree with that. My friend Anna, you should watch my videos. I'm very supportive of the trans community. You do you. As long as it's not illegal, I don't care what you do, my friend. That goes for whatever people want to do. What I don't like is people politicizing it for money, like PC Gamer did. And this isn't the first time that the developer has been attacked by the game's activism crowd. Here are old articles from crap websites. How Rimworld's code defines strict gender roles. Reed's having a bad day. Her spaceship has crashed. She's one of 3 survivors and other 2 won't stop hitting on her. Unfortunately for her, she's beautiful, which means that they're immediately enamored with her. And then you have Rimworld developer labeled a misogynist over video game's romance system. Again, there are all sorts of mods for the sexuality of characters or however you want to do. This one was written by Exclusively Games' Ian Miles Chung. Video games mechanics are not real. They are mathematical computations devised by programmers, intended to deliver a gameplay experience, creating challenges and emergent behavior. When RPS published an article about how a popular indie game, Rimworld, was sexist, game journalists and social justice warriors piled onto the hate wagon aimed at shaming its sole developer, Tynan Sylvester. The developer's neutrality towards Gamergate movement, which was emerging in 2014, may have soured their views on him. Of course it did. It wasn't, you couldn't be neutral. You had to come out and speak against it, and if you didn't, people would continue to ask you about it until you did. Sylvester had multiple interviews about his game with Breitbart, which hosts Gamergate-friendly Milo Yiannopoulos, and public conversation with Kotaku blogger Jason Schreier. Sylvester drew the line between fair and honest reporting and what he calls journalist activism, which refers to the social justice narrative pushed by countless. Gee, the more things change or stay the same. In the RPS article, its author, Claudia Lowe, asserts that Rimworld is a title still in very early phases of development, depicted a problematic view of human relationships. Like other titles in the genre of strategic simulation games, Rimworld procedurally generates events and situations through program probabilities. Nothing in the game is scripted. Given that, it's far from complete. Much of its code consists of placeholder data that only exists to pad out some of the unfinished mechanics. Lowe took issue with some of the code, which programmed male characters to be predisposed to either their homo or heterosexuality, with far less of the former. Male characters were also inclined to initiate relationships compared to females. This ignited a storm of criticism towards the developer, which claims that he was erasing bisexual men and offered a politicized conservative view of human sexuality. Essentially, the author is upset that the game isn't coded to be progressive. The author also claims that the game is ableist, or biased towards people with disabilities by making them less attractive mates. In reality, there is no disability flag. According to the developer, romance probabilities go down for characters who can't speak or move, which is caused by injury, drunk, near passed out, or simply ill. The game does not factor physical handicaps. Finally, the code posted in the RPS article is not written by Sylvester, rather by the author herself. Whether it was done out of malice or the developer or not, beside the point, it's misleading. The author calls it pseudocode, but fails to indicate that she added comments herself based on the interpretation of his programming. In response to the post, Sylvester says that his relationship system is broken and the analysis would be misleading. Isn't broken. In 2018, we're writing a review of the game that has had many iterations and many upgrades, and there are many popular modifications to the exact game. But PC Gamer, rather than write an article about the game, they have to get woke in the second half, and it couldn't have gone better. Now, you can see just how much traffic this website gets. It's 0 comments, but it's sad to me, someone who grew up reading PC Gamer, to see how far they've fallen. Enjoy the egg on your face, PC Gamer, as you wisp away into insignificance. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.